A member of a prominent activist and religious family, Catharine Esther Beecher was a 19th century teacher and writer who promoted equal access to education for women and advocated for their roles as teachers and mothers. Embracing traits associated with femininity, such as nurturance, Beecher argued that women were uniquely suited to the moral and intellectual development of children, either as mothers or educators. While she did not advocate a radical change in women's roles, she did fight for increased recognition of the importance of the work women did in managing homes and raising families. She also believed that women should expand their place in society by becoming teachers and allowing them to use their nurturing skills and moral conscience in the professional sphere. Catharine Beecher was born September 6, 1800 in East Hampton, New York. Catharine is the daughter of renowned Presbyterian minister Lyman Beecher. Catharine also had siblings and was the eldest of the 9 children. Her most known sister was Harriet Beecher Stowe. Beecher's sister Harriet is a well-known 19th century abolitionist and a writer most famous for her groundbreaking novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Catharine was educated at home until she was 10 years old. When Beecher was 10 years old, the family moved to Litchfield, Connecticut, where she attended Sarah Pierce's Litchfield Female Academy. At the academy, she was taught various subjects, but the curriculum was limited for young women. Beecher taught herself subjects that were not offered to women, such as math, Latin, and philosophy. In 1816, Beecher was only 16 years old when her mother, Roxana Foote Beecher, died of tuberculosis. This left Catharine to manage the household and to serve as a surrogate mother to her younger siblings. It was during this time that Beecher became familiar with the responsibility and nobility of motherhood, which she would never experience through her own. She suffered the greatest tragedy of her life in her early 20s when her fiancé, Yale professor and mathematician Alexander Fisher, died in the shipwreck of the Albion off the coast of Ireland in 1822. She never married and relied on the strength of her younger siblings to cope with the loss. Beecher's early career was devoted to promoting education for women and the evolution of education as a profession. After her fiancé Fisher's death, Beecher and her sister Isabella founded a school for young women in Hartford, Connecticut, which in 1824 became the Hartford Female Seminary. In Cincinnati, she founded another women's school, the Western Female Institute, but this endeavor was short-lived due to the lack of financial support resulting from the Panic of 1837, which was an economic depression that gripped the nation. During the 1840s, Catharine worked to recruit teachers for schools on the western frontier and founded the Central Committee for Promoting National Education. This organization ultimately promoted teacher education and contributed to the establishment of education as a profession. In 1852, Catharine Beecher was one of the founders of the American Women's Educational Association, which planted higher learning institutions for women in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Ohio. Her famous works, A Treatise on Domestic Economy, The Duty of American Women to Their Country, and the Domestic Receipt Book, demonstrated her beliefs about women's central role as mothers and educators, raising the next generation of citizens and creating a sanctuary for their families within the home. Beecher was one of the principal proponents of the 19th century cult of domesticity. She shared the widespread Victorian idea that a women's sphere of influence was the home. There, women would undertake tasks related to nurturing children and caring for the family's environs. Beecher combined this belief with the feminism engendered in her through her early education under Sarah Pierce. According to Beecher, men and women were equal, but she did not seek the meld of spheres of men and women. Her approach to feminism was to evaluate the feminine realm to the same importance and professionalism of the male one. If women belonged in the home and men in the world, the women should receive an education in child rearing, home economics, and domestic concerns that was as rigorous and valuable as that which men received in law, medicine, or business. Through her writings and the school she founded, Beecher advocated that women be taught history, Latin, algebra, logic, physical education, and natural philosophy. This at the time when women who received an education were most often taught etiquette, literature, and modern languages. Beecher also pioneered education in which she referred to as domestics, which would today be considered family and consumer sciences. In the last years of her life, Beecher returned to the East where she lived with various relatives. Catharine Beecher died at the age of 77 of apoplexy on May 12, 1878, while living with her brother in Elmira, New York. and she was buried there. Through her writings, public appearances, and the school she helped to found, Beecher helped to gain recognition for the value of women's work in society. Although she did not challenge the subordinate place of females, she did present a new vision of women as a strong and influential force that helped to determine the direction and conscience of the nation.